All right, welcome back. This is part 3 of my 1982 Porsche 928 timing chain adventures. And I thought I'd make another video and show you kind of the progress I've made, some of the setbacks I've ran into, and show you some of the parts that I've replaced, and where we're at with this car right now. So, if you remember, the last video I made, the engine was still very dirty, so I took some time and really cleaned this thing up and got rid of all the oil. If you remember, all of this was gunked up. I had a leak coming from the crankshaft seal. I had leaks coming from the cam towers here. There's a leak coming from down here, leak coming from the distributor shaft back here. There was a leak. We had leaks on this side. So did a little bit of research and found out that there are actually some, when you take this off, there's some seals behind there. There's 3 seals that you need to replace. So I went ahead and ordered those parts and went at it and started replacing those. So I'll show you those in a minute. I did get a chance to replace the camshaft seals, both this side and this side, and went ahead and replaced this little gasket here for the oil level sender right here as well. Did have a chance to take out the oil pump, replace the seal around here, and then the O-ring that goes around it, and put that all back together, and that was pretty easy job to do. So right now the engine is super clean, and while I was cleaning it though, I decided I was going to take out the AC compressor because the air condition was not working. So I wanted to make sure that when I put everything together, and since I had everything apart here, easy access to it, that I took out the AC compressor, sent it off, had it refurbished, and gone through and made sure it's working. So I had that taken care of, and one of the things I'm going to be doing next is flushing the entire system. Bought myself a nice little kit to do the flush, and we'll be doing that as well. I already got started on that. Did actually replace the expansion valve. Well, I took the expansion valve out of the back here. Decided not to take the hood off. You'd have a little bit more working area, but I was able to use a nice little tool to get back in here and take the expansion valve out. And so the next thing that I'm going to be doing is flushing the evaporator with my little flush kit or flush tool that I bought, get all the oil out of it so I can convert that whole system to R134, because it was still running the R32 system. So that's part of the project that I'm working on. Let me show you real quick the tool that I used to remove the expansion valve, and then show you some of the other tools and items that I replaced. So this is the golden ticket. If you have one of these, I highly recommend using that to remove the expansion valve. So this little 19mm flare nut crowfoot really worked great, because I was able to get that back in here, pop these nuts off without messing up any of the bolts here, and the expansion valve came out pretty easily. So again, those of you that are going to tackle this job, this is the tool to get. To remove the camshaft seals, I bought myself this nice little tool. It's a camshaft crankshaft removal tool. You got these little hooks here that kind of hook into the seals themselves, and then you can pull them out, extract them that way, and then you use the combination of these little mandrels or whatever they call them to kind of push them right back in using the bolt and kind of tighten it back in. So that tool is golden too, worked really well. Glad I bought that. I know I will be using that for other projects as well, and some of my other cars. So let me show you some of the seals and so forth that I've replaced. So if you can see here, I laid it all nicely out for you guys so you can kind of see what I've been working on. So here, these right here are all the O-rings to, you know, get the AC system back put together. So I'm going to replace all of those. Here we have the expansion valve. This is the new one. This is the old one I took off. Here are the rings, or the sealing rings that go around the oil pump. So that was right round back around here. And then, you know, replace that seal as well. So that is this seal right here. That was in there pretty good. I did get it out without screwing anything up. And then over here we have the thermostat. Going to be replacing that with a new ring here. O-ring. There's a new thermostat. Here we have an auxiliary fan switch that goes into the radiator. I did remove, while I was at it, I did remove the radiator and the condenser, since I am flushing that whole system. So I took all of that out while I'm at it. So I'm here, I might as well do it, and I might as well do it right. So also did remove the power steering pump, and will be replacing the high pressure power steering hose here. That seems to be still original, and that is a source of fires, and I do not want to take any chances with it. So this hose will be replaced, go straight to the rack. I have a new one for that, and that will be replaced as well. So let's go back over here. Here we have the crankshaft seal. The way that I took the crankshaft seal out was I drilled a little hole into it real carefully and put a drywall screw in it, and then just kind of, you know, drilled in right here, put the screw in, and then just kind of pried it out that way, because I was not having any success with trying to get in here and kind of prying it out. It was in there pretty well, so was able to get it out really nicely. And then made myself a little tool here out of some PVC pipes to push it back in evenly and straight. So this worked out really great. Got the idea from somebody on Renlist. Went to the hardware store, got the parts, and really was able to, you know, slide that on here, put a washer around it, and then just use the crank bolt to push that in straight. So that worked out really well. Pretty stoked about that. So let's see, what else do we have? Oh, the camshafts leak that I was having from the camshafts. So there are these little O-rings that are in there that go back here. Like one's behind here, this one was right back there, and then these little ones right here were down here, one, and then one on this side. So I replaced those two. This one on this side was leaking pretty bad, and somebody must have tried to put some sealant on it to try to stop the leak. I don't know if they didn't have the seal to replace it and they thought they just put some sealant on it to get that to stop leaking, but went ahead and replaced those. Here's another one that was back in there on the camshaft, which is this spacer tube. There's a spacer tube on there and has a little O-ring in it, and that's the one right here. As you can see, they're very brittle and probably part of why I have had all those leaks. This little O-ring or seal was part of the distributor, so I did remove the distributor. It was leaking, pulled that out. Did already have the car on top dead center, so just made sure that I put it back to pointing to this direction, to cylinder 1 or to spark plug 1, and replace that, put that back in, and that all worked out pretty well. So that is well, those are some of the parts that I've replaced, some of the seals to address all those leaks that I had. And so let's talk about the water pump bolts that broke off. So if you remember, I had a stud right here that was sticking out that broke off, and a stud right here that broke off. So I tried to get those studs out by really just heating the hell out of the block, and then hopefully expanding it enough to where I could just take a pair of pliers and pull those out. But anything I tried with pliers and heating it up, it just wouldn't budge. I literally was putting the torch to this for minutes at a time, and it would not get hot enough. So the heat must have been dissipating in the block so much that I couldn't get it hot enough to loosen it up by hand or anything, you know, with a pair of pliers. So pretty disappointed at that. So I figured, well, what am I going to do? So I decided, well, might as well try to weld a nut to it and see if that will allow me to put a nut on it, weld a nut to it, and then try to like loosen it up that way. And decide, okay, well, good opportunity to get a welder. I always wanted a welder and thought, buy myself a welder, weld a nut to it, and see if that'll do the trick. So I went out, bought myself a new little tool for the shop, got myself this beautiful Miller Multimatic 215 welder, which really is dummy proof. It really allows you to set the right settings for the thickness of steel and the right ampage and wire speed and everything that you need to know. So really excited about that tool. So I bought this, added it to the shop. I enjoy welding. I did weld these tables last year myself for the shop, and enjoyed the whole process of doing that. So decided to go that route, weld the nut on. As you can see over here, here's a little test run I did to try to get the weld in there and loosen that stud that was sticking out that way. So I welded it on there, try to break it loose that way by heating up the the block too, and it just wouldn't budge. It was in there so tight. I ended up breaking off the little bit of stud that was on there, broke that off, and as you can see again here, now I have that stud. So this is the big dilemma I'm dealing with right now and giving me a little bit of a headache. I could try to use an extraction tool. I'm a little worried about the extraction tool because these extraction tools are made of a really hard steel, and if you break those off, you got a whole nother set of nightmares because you're not going to be able to drill that out if you need to. I've had that experience before and it's driving me crazy. So I might just try to get myself a guide, drill those bolts out of there, and you know, drill them out, put a Healy coil in it, and be done with it. So still haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, but that is on the list and kind of the next big thing I need to do to move on to the next step here and start putting everything back together. So that is where we're at. Before we end this video though, real quick, here's the new AC compressor that I got refurbished. So it's the original one that I had refurbished. So I'm real excited that this thing is all in good shape now, and when I put everything back together and put Freon back into it, hopefully the AC will work. Here's the little flush kit that I bought myself. This little flush tool with air compressed air. You can flush the whole system out. Here's the solvent for that to do that. So I'm going to clean everything super clean, flush it out. Did already do that with the AC condenser. So I got that sucker flushed out. This little hose or AC hose that was going from the condenser to the compressor was a real bitch to get off, but I did end up getting it off. So, well, camera just cut out, battery died, so not to cut the video short, but that's all I really have right now. I hope you enjoyed the update. I know I'm enjoying making these videos and documenting this whole process, and I'll make some more videos once I have some more good progress to report back to. So until next time, thank you for tuning in, and I'll talk to you guys later. Cheers.